Big fluff.
Hey everybody, I'm Joel Murphy.
And I'm not wearing a hat.
This is Silver Linings Playback, the podcast where we watch maligned movies and we find their silver linings.
And it is still the month of July, and we're still watching X-Men movies. So this time we're watching X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Which I think you have to appreciate the audacity, right? Like now we can definitively say, looking back, that was a swing and a miss. The whole X-Men Origins naming convention that they were very sure we'll start with Wolverine. He's our best character. We'll do Origins Wolverine. We're going to do a Magneto one, and then probably Gambit. We're setting up Gambit. We'll do one, obviously Scott Summers. Everybody wants that, We
kind of got a Scott Summers origin in this one. So a little twofer.
He got pushed down and lost his glasses. That was his origin story.
And then he's like, no, I should lead. I should be a leader amongst men.
I'm going to be a jerk from now on.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that was it. But no, I do think it's funny that they were really banking on this being a thing, and it was not. This is actually kind of an important moment for this fraught X-Men franchise that is no more. That we're actually, as we're doing this, we're doing it for Deadpool and Wolverine, but we're doing it also because Fox was acquired by Disney, and this version of these characters, sans seemingly Wolverine, continues. Hugh Jackman gets to continue on, but it seems like we're probably moving past these characters ultimately.
Yeah, it's going to be an all new cast of characters when they officially reboot the X-Men. I get the sense, and granted, we're recording this well before, and actually releasing this before Deadpool and Wolverine comes out. But I would assume that that's not even going to be a soft reboot for the X-Men. They will have their own. It may be what connects them to the MCU, but that's about it.
No, I mean, from what I get from the trailer, which it doesn't give much, it seems like it's implying that their universes are collapsing, or Deadpool's obviously always meta, so it seems to be the character of Deadpool aware that his continuity is going away and that he will not be part of the MCU.
Or maybe he will be.
I mean, look, if nothing else, because we're here obviously to talk specifically about Origins Wolverine, I think it's a good reminder that both Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds are, they're survivors. They made it past this version of them.
But I think the most accurate version of Deadpool.
I know that I heard the creator of Deadpool, when he saw this movie, he was like, there's no need to make any more of them. They nailed it.
Perfect. I'm done. This is my work realized in live action in living color.
You know what I will say, and maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves on the silver linings, but I'd say if you only watched the clip that we played at the beginning, you'd probably go like, oh yeah, I mean, that feels like Deadpool. He's in an elevator. He's making quips. He's about to go into battle as a mercenary and take down.
And even if you watch that next sequence, that's a pretty badass sequence.
Yeah, I think if he was one and done, which from what I was reading was the plan, that he was supposed to be just that. Deadpool was only written into the beginning of the script, and then once they had Ryan Reynolds secured, they extended the part. And I'm going to guess maybe gave him someone else's part and just were like, we'll just make this stuff we already wrote Deadpool, even though none of it is anything like what Deadpool does, that now he's some adamantium clawed super mutant that can mimic other mutants' powers.
Yep. Because there's no other mutants in the X-Men verse that can mimic other people's powers, so they had to create one and use the name of an existing property, Deadpool.
Yep. Yeah, and they sewed his mouth shut at the end.
But then there's the post-credit scene where the head is still alive and it goes, shh.
Mm-hmm. Which feels not dissimilar from another movie that we have discussed on this show before, which is Freddy versus Jason. It's got that kind of vibe to it of
or Masters of the Universe.
Is that a reoccurring theme on this podcast?
It might be. Between that and Taylor Kitsch, I mean, this is playing all the hits.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up because, we couldn't get through this whole episode without mentioning that our old friend Taylor Kitsch, this is now his third appearance on the pod.
Which means friend of the show.
It also means we have to do that other, what was the other movie of his that came out and flopped that we talked about?
Well, we did John Carter and we did Battleship.
But but I'm saying there's one more.
Oh, the third one's called The Savages.
The Savages. We have to do The Savages because I think
have him on to talk about it, I feel like.
Yeah, Taylor, we know you're listening, so please go on. But yeah, we've talked about this. If you listen to our John Carter, or if you listen to Battleship, which was fairly recently, there were a lot of people attempting to give him franchises. There were these hopes for him. He was a big star from Friday Night Lights, charming young actor, good looking guy. Like clearly they thought the sky's the limit. And none of it materialized, and now we don't see him anymore. And
he's on a TV show now that apparently has a decent amount of viewership.
I'll take your word for it. I don't know.
I looked it up because I was like, what is he doing? What's old Kitsch up to? Kitschy Coo is what I call him.
Is that the show? That he's on?
He just tickles people. It's a hidden camera show where Taylor Kitsch just goes around tickling people and they get their reactions.
And then a lot of them are
like, wait, are you?
Wait, no, you were Riggins, right? What happened to your career? What happened to your career? Is it all right?
And then one guy's like, oh my God, John Carter is tickling me.
John Carter from Mars, not Earth John Carter.
No, John Carter from Mars. Or Battleship is tickling me.
Yeah. So, but to properly officially set it up, he's Gambit in this movie, which know that they were planning on doing an X-Men Origins Gambit if this had gone well. He's in the end, like the only two characters that we see that are together in the end are Wolverine and Gambit. And like Wolverine goes like, get out of here, Taylor Kitsch. I'm going to go reboot this and make the Wolverine alone. I can tell this didn't go well, which I thought was a weird ending.
It was weird that line was in the script, and people say Deadpool invented meta comedy, but it was right here all along.
It was producer Hugh Jackman. So which is, by the way, weird that Gambit never really got full, like, because when you watch the cartoon, which the cartoon just got rebooted too, obviously Gambit, the foundational member of the cartoon X-Men.
And his origin story episode with the Thieves Guild and the Murder Assassins Guild is just a weird side quest episode, but it's awesome, or 2-episode arc.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, and also look, we've established that he's a friend of the show. We established that we hope he will come on in a future episode. So I'll just say that this is tough love, buddy, because this is coming from a place of love and respect. And I am a fan, but like, he just bailed on the accent after that first scene, right? Like he kind of like dipped his toe. He said,
then remember Will.I.am.
Yeah, he like kind of like gave a little flavor of it to be like, that's who I'm playing. And then it was like, now look, you and I both done improv, and I for sure will admit I've been guilty of this move myself in an improv scene. I think a lot of us have, of like, you kind of take a big swing with an accent in your first line, but then you're going to walk that back because you're like, well, this scene's going to keep going. So you gotta.
I've got maybe 4 accents in my pocket that I can hold on to if I make a big swing.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I think the single hardest task in improv is doing a different accent than your scene partner.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're going to both end up Australian about 2-3 minutes in. Like, it doesn't matter. It could be French and Italian. And by the end, like, good day, mate, too right. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, let's try it.
Glasses.
You want to try it? Let's try a scene.
Sure.
See. Okay.
Hey, what are you doing?
How much are the baguettes?
The baguettes, they cost a little bit of the money.
I would like to buy the baguettes and
the francs.
Shrimp on the barbie. Yeah, see?
Good day, mate.
See, it happened organically, obviously.
Yeah, it didn't get shoehorned in there.
Yeah.
Anyways, I want to start here because we're 12 minutes in. And I think it's a good time to start. So,
I mean, I'd argue that they didn't start. Like, I think if you looked at their timestamps 12 minutes in, I don't know the movie had started yet. So we were doing weird.
No, the movie was over. The best part of the movie was over already 4 minutes in.
Did you like the colonial fan fiction Wolverine stuff?
No, the opening credits montage is the best part of this movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because I didn't know if this is, sorry, you said you were going to start somewhere, and I don't know if it was here.
We know. Let's say as laser focused as the makers.
No, but that actually was going to talk about the beginning, which is we get a weird, like, here's Sabretooth and Wolverine, fighting in all of the American wars montage. Right.
Which would have been a way more interesting movie than the one we got.
We blow through that.
Let's through it.
Yeah. We're not in any way interested in spending time. And also, I do, because we're not going to get back to the opening scene because there's no reason to. So I just want to note for posterity that a young, as yet undiscovered Troye Sivan playing young Logan in that opening scene. And
he grew up to look exactly like Hugh Jackman.
Well, they both love singing. So I think
both love singing. That is true.
I think in that sense.
And can both nail a flamboyant character.
Right. They both kill it on Broadway, essentially.
But I'm just going to say it. The band Boy Genius better at being Troye Sivan than Troye Sivan. I'm just going to say it.
Okay.
They proved it on SNL when all Phoebe Bridgers and the other members of Boy Genius all played Troye Sivan. And it was great.
Good stuff. You know what? Yep. Nailed it.
I'm just, just for posterity, I want to put that out there.
Where did you want to start, though? Yeah.
No, I decided because it can also be saved for the end. So I'm going to save it now for the end.
Ooh, all right.
Podcast beginning origins. Andy's subtleties.
Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
All right. So we get a recast Sabretooth, which I'm just going to say it's weird, but it's not even in the top 10 biggest problems with this movie. The fact that Sabretooth is a established giant and we just pretend that the guy who played Sabretooth in X2 doesn't exist, who apparently was interested in reprising his role.
But yeah, Tyler Mane, objectively, Liev Schreiber is a better actor than Tyler Mane. And I don't think Tyler Mane would argue against that.
Right. Also, if I could have just one tangent, since we've only talked about the movie so far, when we talk about accents and we talk about Liev Schreiber being an amazing actor, the fact, because I'm going to tell you this and maybe you know it and maybe you don't, but I know it. And every time I watch the movie, I forget the fact that it's Liev Schreiber who does Kingpin in Across the Spider-Verse blows my mind every time because it's such a perfect New York Kingpin accent that I love so much that I like every time, I know it. And then he talks for 5 seconds and I'm like, that's Kingpin.
Yeah, no, it's he's great as the voice of Kingpin. And I like Liev Schreiber. I think, he's value added across. We're not getting to Silver Linings yet. It is a little weird that he looks nothing like movie Sabretooth and even less like comic Sabretooth.
Okay, thank you. So that's where I got distracted myself, but that was the point I was trying to make, is that we've established what Sabretooth looks like in the cinematic universe, and what he looked like in X2 is similar to what he looks like in the comics, at least, or
closer.
A human version of what he looks like in the comics or whatever. But then,
you couldn't do a comic accurate Sabretooth. It would look ridiculous.
No, I think what they did in X2 is as close as you're going to get to the comics. And I think it evoked the spirit of it. Liev Schreiber's just a different thing. We're just throwing out, forget everything you've ever known about Sabretooth. But he's a good actor and I like him. And again, like you said, well, he might come up again in the Silver Linings, but it is worth noting that it's jarring how different he looks. And especially next to what might be the most jacked Hugh Jackman now, in this movie. He's starting to really hit his... He
is getting to 2000s Triple H level of pump. No, it is obnoxious just how shredded and pumped he is for this movie.
Yeah. And we also lose Brian Cox, which is incredibly disappointing. Although were perhaps saved from, because I was reading, he also was interested in reprising his role. And I believe the reason for that, if I know my man Brian Cox, I'm a huge fan of, is because they would have paid him to do the role. And I think that's why he really wanted to keep doing it.
He was interested because there was a paycheck attached.
Much like, look, you might love him in Succession and you might think he was great. I love him in Adaptation and think he's great in that. But he did those for the same reason he does those McDonald's commercials, because... And
the same reason he did the second Super Troopers.
Right, because the check's clear every time. But yeah, we didn't get him, and I am a little sad about that. But also,
Danny Huston was fine, though.
Yeah, it's fine. And again, I don't think it matters. But also, if they had cast him, they would have had the de-aging technology that they used in X3, which they also use in this movie. Again, as we pointed out, if you go to last week's episode, you don't need to de-age Patrick Stewart because he hasn't looked different our entire lives. He's looked
exactly the same.
But for some reason in this movie, he looks like he has an Instagram filter of a baby on his face. Like his face is worse in this one.
I was going to say, I love that, this is 3 years hence, right? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, the technology's probably better, but no, let's make it look as plastic as he did in the first one. As much like the airbrush of Daniel von Bargen in that episode of Seinfeld.
It is. Yeah, I'd argue that, at least to my eyes, it looked worse this time around. I don't know why. Maybe because he didn't also have Ian McKellen de-aged next to him for contrast.
So it was more stark. Yeah.
But it was very silly. Why did he use telepathy to talk to the group when he was standing in front of them? Just to show off, right? Like that's why he went into Scott's mind.
I think it was to send a message that like he's a mutant like them. He's here to help. So he's demonstrating his mutant power. So I'll say of all the weird logical leaps you have to take to swallow this movie, that's low on the list.
It was just funny to me that he's staring at them, but like, I'm going to talk to your minds.
And Scott Summers had his eyes covered, so if he just heard it in his head, he didn't. He's not sure. Like if you're hearing something in your head, like it could, I've used bone conducting headphones. It sounds like it's in your ears. Sure. It's got to be the same thing.
So but also, I guess since we mentioned the de-aging thing too, I'm just gonna go ahead and say the CG claws also look very bad.
Horrendous.
They look the worst that they've ever looked in this. They don't look real ever. And I think part of it is because from what I was reading too, they use CG in the other ones because obviously to make the claws extend and retract, that's not done practically. But
no, they did not actually surgically implant claws in Hugh Jackman's skin. He would have done it.
I know
he'd be up for it.
He was game, and I appreciate that about him. But I think in the other movies they still had so they do the CG for them to extend, and then they have plastic claws.
Ones, yeah.
But in this one, it seems like there were no practical claws. So they were like, we can do this 100% in CG, and they couldn't.
No, I mean they could have. They chose not to.
Well, it just doesn't look good. I
like the scene when he's in the bathroom of the old couple, not John and Martha Kent. That he it looks like someone literally just drew on the frames of film.
It definitely looks like the first pass. Like they didn't that's like the temp VX to make sure everything's, the temp VFX.
It looks like previs almost.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. That it's just to show the director like
where the claws are going to be.
This is what we're planning to do. And then he just signed off on it. So they were like, okay, we're done. And
Gavin, you're sure we're not going to go back in?
No. It's good. It's good.
Rolling.
Jesus, I said
we got to make
busy.
that blob fat suit look good. Save the money for where it counts.
We got to make Kevin Durand wear the dumbest fat suit ever for the scene that everyone's going to love. We're definitely, what everyone's been really jonesing for is the Wolverine blob boxing match.
It's probably the most famous scene from the X-Men comics, put live on screen for the first and so far only time because they nailed it.
Yeah, and I love that they ended with the claws through the boxing glove. Classic.
Yeah. Wolverine versus Blob. If you just go if we can comic nerd for a second, what an unfair fight for the Blob because he will just get shredded.
No, that's why it's not. Well, I mean, it's a movie where he's fighting Sabretooth. We've seen him fight Juggernaut. We've seen Magneto absolutely house him every time.
Because it doesn't work.
Yeah. But like, yeah, Blob was really presented as if he's any kind of formidable thing, and he's not at all. It's
and
not
there
good.
are people that like Blob would be a reasonable fight for.
Yeah.
A lot of superheroes. He's immovable, he's huge, etc. But it's just a fat dude.
Mm-hmm. He's just very big. I will say, I'm not going to give it a silver lining, so I will just say it here, because I don't think it quite makes it to silver lining, but I at least nodded a like, okay, I see what you're doing. I didn't call you Blob, I called you Bub. That's okay.
Yeah, because that is a famous thing that Wolverine says. He calls people Bub.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's classic farce. Mm-hmm. Classic misunderstanding.
Yep. And Bub and Blob sound so close.
They do. Yeah. I remember as a kid being traumatized by the movie The Bub.
Yeah, it was with Steve McQueen. It's really scary.
And if you're ever out here in LA and you're looking for some good bread, Blob and Grandma's is a great company.
I also love they rest in peace to famed internet cat Little Blob.
Yeah, R.I.P. Yeah, so that's a thing that happens. That's a scene. They fight. I guess we haven't really set up the plot. The plot is I mean, I don't know. It's Origins Wolverine. So these are Wolverine's origins. He fought in a bunch of wars along with his brother, Liev Schreiber, and then they are recruited by Stryker for it's Task Force X, right? That's the thing. Is that thing? Whatever. Sure. They're a group, and Deadpool's there, and not Nightcrawler's there, and
but yeah, the team is making his cinematic debut. Will.I.am as John Wraith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
then Kevin Durand
because he loved Nightcrawler, so they just made him a Nightcrawler. Yeah,
they chose another teleporting character and had him play that character because they didn't want to do Nightcrawler.
Mm-hmm. Also, just quick shout out to Alan Cumming, and we just obviously wrapped up Pride Month, who came out recently and said that in an interview that he thinks X2 is the gayest movie that he's ever done, and I agree.
He did Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion,
but no,
X2's gayer. I'll give it. You know what?
Yep.
Who am I to say? I love Alan Cumming. He's just the best. I saw him do on Broadway a one-man performance of Macbeth. Wild.
Nice. I saw him eat lunch at an outdoor cafe in LA. It was wild. Like, I turned a corner and he was just sitting there at a table and we made eye contact for a second. And he definitely had that looking at me, he knew that I recognized him and was waiting to see if I was going to say anything. But of course he was eating, and I'm not going to bother the man. But it was exciting.
No, I tend not to want to bother celebrities when I see them in public.
No,
except for our good friend Andrew Garfield, who we had lunch with.
Well, yeah, but that was predetermined. We all met for lunch and we sat at the same table and hung out. And he ordered lasagna, and he was kind of down because it was a Monday.
Well, he was upset about it because he hates Mondays.
Exactly, this is classic things
that are true about Andrew Garfield.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the crew. And then
there's Agent Zero, played by Daniel Hetty, I believe.
And then there's Dominic Monaghan of Lost and
Lord of the Rings
fame, playing guy who can make lights turn on.
I just love that, like, it's clear that, like, Stryker is a pretty smart guy, and he doesn't make the same mistake twice. He's like, no, last time we got screwed when they stopped the elevator and we were all in it going up to raid the big boss. No, I'm going to get a guy who can't make the elevator, who makes the elevator go if they try to stop it. Aha, I've got it.
I'm going to recruit the guy whose superpower is a job that used to exist in the 1950s, but is now irrelevant. Like that's his superpower.
Fourth floor lingerie.
A guy who was literally replaced by automation. Like
a guy who was replaced by a button.
Yeah. But yeah, he's part of the team. And yeah, he also spends his time at carnivals doing a trick where he makes like
he has a carnival game that's unwinnable because he's a dick.
Which credit to him, honestly.
Yeah, good for him.
Why is that not what 90% of mutants are doing? Is just, you know.
I think it is.
Yeah. I
think that's the truth, is that because like you have to assume that most mutants don't have like crime fighting or crime committing level superpowers. They can like keep lights on. And, you know, maybe you find that one job where you're the only guy that can do it.
Okay.
But otherwise, it's just a dick.
Look, Marvel, if you're Feige, I know, look, we can all agree that I think maybe the MCU needs a boost in the arm. And we're obviously trying to reboot the X-Men. Hire Andy and I to write Gaslight X-Men or Gaslight Mutants, where they're
Gaslight
just a
X.
team. Gaslight X. They're just a team of mutants that all they do is just drive their coworkers crazy by, like every time the coworker goes in the bathroom, they turn the lights off, or like every time there's one guy, like every time he washes his car, the one that controls the weather just makes it storm on his car.
Right. There's one guy who can like just make small objects invisible.
Yeah. And so he's just hiding pens and like car keys
and like
from
staplers
people.
and
and that's all they do. They don't fight crime. There's no bigger picture thing. They just exist to
give us 12 episodes on Disney Plus, Gaslight X.
Yeah, Gaslight X, I definitely think, it'll be hot. It'll be, all the kids will be talking about it, I think.
You'll get like 2 cameos from whoever you cast. We'll get Kelsey Grammer to do a cameo as Beast.
Yeah. And then we'll, I don't know, like it seems like Loki could show up or something, he's around those MCU TV shows.
What's Anthony Mackie
Give us
doing?
Owen Wilson. Give us Owen Wilson.
Give us, oh, wow, you guys are gaslighting me. I thought I had a pen in my pocket, but no, it's just not there anymore. Wow. Yeah, wow.
That's the thing, is he sees through everything that they do, but he's just so good natured about it that they're like, you know what, we're gonna give this guy a pass.
It's like, oh wow, I just washed my car, and weird, just every day, I take my car to the car wash on lunch break, and then it rains.
I checked the weather this morning. It said it was clear skies.
Clear skies, and then there's a rainstorm localized right over my car. Just wow.
We're printing money now. Yeah.
Holler at your boys, Kevin Feige.
And like you just
said, we'll put Taylor Kitsch in it.
Taylor, call us. Yeah, well, we've got a part for you. But also, like I think it goes without saying when you said Kelsey Grammer that he will be playing Beast, obviously, but it will be a Frasier style like farce episode where like
it'll be a full of mistaken identities. There'll be like the door scenes.
Yeah. Like a little Scooby-Doo action maybe at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Like there'll be one guy who just like makes people's hair fall out. That's his like gaslighting power.
Yeah. And another guy who makes people's hair grow.
Right. They're twins.
But they don't know that the other ones work in the other angle. So they keep driving each other crazy. Like one gets rid of the guy's hair and the other brings it back.
Exactly.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Holler at your boys. Gaslight X coming to Disney Plus fall 2026.
And again, we didn't cover it, but I think it was implied that Taylor Kitsch shows up to tickle people, obviously. Yeah, Kitschy Coo, his hidden camera show where he tickles people. He's like, hey, I'm here to tickle you, monsieur. Now I'm tickling you. That's what he's
here for it.
And okay, so that's the team. They go like we'll get through this quick because we need to get to the silver lining soon. So they're a team. Wolverine gets uncomfortable with their methods. He leaves, and that sets off a chain reaction that just makes Liev Schreiber kill everyone. I guess
pretty much. Yeah, he leaves to just. He's like, no, I'm not going to kill. Like they've clearly killed a lot of innocent people. I think that's heavily implied. But for whatever reason.
Wolverine was all murdered out. Like,
yeah. Until he got murdered in again.
Yeah. But he got tired of the murder. He wanted to go do construction in Canada. So he left.
Logging, not construction.
Oh,
logging.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. He was a logger.
There are 2 jobs in Canada. Improv comedian and logger.
Well, you forgot professional wrestler, I think.
3 jobs.
Yeah. Those are the only jobs.
That's the Venn diagram of where logger and improv comedian overlap is professional wrestler.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah. Then you become the logger, who is a professional wrestler. That's your character.
Played by William Regal. Which is a real thing that happened. He's a man.
Man's man. Such a man.
He's a man.
That theme song slapped. I don't care.
Gold. Top 5 all time.
Yeah.
Easy.
But yeah, so then they have to fight. Also, this is the origins of Wolverine, so he gets them adamantium claws.
So in order to get revenge on Sabretooth, he agrees to have Stryker experiment on him, which seems weird because Sabretooth is also working for Stryker.
Well, and it seems weird because why didn't he do this before when he was working for him? Why did he wait till after he left? I guess maybe the technology.
They didn't have enough adamantium because that's what they were getting when they went to the African village.
Asked and answered. Yeah.
There actually is a logical explanation for that one.
Yeah. Okay. So they give it to Wolverine, who's hard to control and who already quit instead of someone else. Although I guess in the comics, we don't see this in this, but it's the only reason that Wolverine can survive is because of his healing factor, and everyone else that they try to give it to dies. So, although I guess they could have given it to Deadpool, which they do.
Well, because they give Wolverine's healing factor to Deadpool.
Right. But then they could have. Yeah, I don't know.
And they give him the katana blades that definitely don't mess with the way his arms bend.
Nope. Yeah. Anyway, so then they fight, and yeah, Deadpool has all the powers. Like he's season 1 of Heroes.
Well, no, the reason that Gambit's involved is because Gambit's the only person that escaped from Stryker's other facility for testing people. And so, but the only person that knows where Gambit might be is John Wraith, who's with Blob. So that's why they have that perfect scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, Deadpool comes and fights, and he has Cyclops's eye lasers and katana blades that come out of his hands, and he can teleport. And he can't talk.
Mm-hmm. And he gets his head cut off, but lives.
Everything is comic accurate to Deadpool.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then, and also there's a whole thing, the woman that Wolverine is romantically linked with when he is a logger turns out to be secretly working for Stryker, but only because her sister is kidnapped.
For 6 years.
For 6 years. And still continue to be kidnapped even after... Like she did everything that they asked, and Wolverine was back on Stryker's side. They still didn't let her go. But yeah, all that happens. These are the origins of Wolverine, I guess. People thought this was a good way to go with this story. I'm not sure why. Like, I think that's the thing to kind of get us where we need to be. I don't know why they made any of the choices that they made in this movie. Like why this is the movie they made.
Well, especially because not too long before this movie came out, they finally did the Wolverine origin story. It's called Wolverine Origins, I believe, is like the comic arc. And that's sort of the colonial fantasy that they do in the very beginning. It's a great comic book. If you're a fan of comics and you haven't read it, I'd be surprised, but you should definitely give it a check. So there was that story because like it didn't. This movie, for being an origin story, you'd think an origin story would reveal something unknown about the character. It didn't at all. It failed on that level.
Well, because all of the Weapon X, him getting the adamantium stuff, had already been shown on screen in X2. So we did actually cover the one part of his origin that I think is the question that everybody has, you know.
I mean, I guess you get like... why did he agree to do it? Maybe is answered by this.
Right. Yeah.
Very thinly.
There also, we should mention that, interestingly, it was David Benioff wrote the original version of the script, who then, if you don't recognize that name, he went on to be one of the co-creators of Game of Thrones, which I think we can all agree, unlike this, they nailed it. No problems with that show from season 1 all the way to the end.
1 through 8, A+ all the way around.
But I am sympathetic to him in this because he said that he read the Origins comic that you just talked about. He really liked the character of Wolverine. He had read a lot of Wolverine stuff and did incorporate a lot of things into his script, which was apparently an R-rated version of the script that we haven't read, but I would assume was probably better than what we got. And then it got rewritten to be PG-13 and to be this and to be dramatically changed from where it started.
Yep.
And it's not good. Right. And Hugh Jackman thinks it's not good.
And that's why anyone thinks it's Wolverine. Good. No, I don't think anyone thinks it's good. So that actually, where I was going to start, I'll throw in now as we start to pivot.
Okay.
So last week when we were watching X-Men: The Last Stand, I posited that this might be the best movie that we watched this month.
Mm-hmm.
Now, having watched X-Men Origins Wolverine, are we still saying now Wolverine Origins is the second best movie so far because we've watched 2? Is it better or worse than Last Stand?
I think I feel more watching Last Stand because I watched this and I nothing this movie. But Last Stand at least evokes an emotional reaction from me. And so I think, yes, I think that I liked watching Last Stand more than this.
I think I agree. Yeah. All right.
I also, I guess, are we fully pivoting?
Yeah, let's pivot.
Because I think to fully get into the silver lining parts, we should. So the reason that we played the clip at the beginning and the reason that we're doing this whole month is because we're getting the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. And for people that have watched both Deadpool movies, clearly Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool has an obsession with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and often talks about how bad this movie is. So like, it's a backhanded silver lining, but I think an important silver lining to note that this is the beginning of these two characters interacting, the first time we ever see them interact on screen. And it's so bad that I don't think if it was like, I think if it was better, we don't get Deadpool and Wolverine. Like, I think the only reason we've reached where we're at now and the reason we're doing this month is because of how badly they botched it this time around.
Yeah, I think you might have something there that if this movie was better or more forgettable, because it's memorably bad, I will say that, then we might not get the Deadpool movies, that we might not get sort of Ryan Reynolds' like quest to make a decent Deadpool and do the character justice. Yeah, so I think that is a back end silver lining.
Well, his quest to make a good Deadpool, and then also his constant jokes about how bad this was, including showing the footage of this. Like when they did Deadpool 2, he goes back and undoes the end of this movie.
Right, by killing the that version of Deadpool.
Right. So like it's been a running joke in the Deadpool films how bad it is. And again, I think that's why they reached this natural conclusion of Hugh Jackman, who, from all accounts, was done playing Wolverine after Logan, which is one we won't get to this month, but the third shot at a standalone Wolverine movie and the one they finally nailed.
Yeah, because and we're also probably not going to talk about the Wolverine because it is 2/3 of a really good movie and then an awful third act, and that's it.
Yeah, it's better than the rest of the things we're going to watch this month.
It is markedly better than the rest of the things we're going to watch this month.
It could have worked. Like, yeah, if you turn that movie off, I wish we knew the exact timestamp, but there's a point that you could turn that movie off and just close your eyes and imagine the third act, and you'd probably be pretty happy with it.
Yeah. But other genuine silver linings, Liev Schreiber, we already talked about. He's great.
No, he really is. And he does not have the physical stature that he should, but yet he sells you on being physically imposing nonetheless. And he was the right choice. And he and Hugh Jackman are friends, and Jackman lobbied for him to have the role. And I think it was the right call because their chemistry together is great. Their arc is still fun despite the way that it's executed. No, he's great. He's definitely value added to this movie.
Yeah. I thought I had something, and
I know. I could just hear the brakes. Oh man, the hard stop. I thought that scene that we already kind of talked about it, but the scene of them going up the elevator, and that we
whole
played at
action
the top.
the opening credit montage implies a more interesting story than the one we got, but I'll still count it. Then yeah, I think most of the action in this movie is pretty good.
Yeah, and like
the helicopter fight, like that's pretty fun.
That's what I was gonna say. As corny as it is that we get a unironic Logan walking towards camera and not looking over his shoulder. An
explosion.
Yeah, with the explosion, like we get that shot, like not played for comic effect, but it's still pretty fun.
Yeah. And him like cutting the helicopter blades with his new adamantium claws is badass. Like and like even like the dumb Deadpool fight at the end, like the action is fun, like him teleporting back and forth and them trying to figure out how to beat him. Like the CGI is a little wonky at times, but like it's fun. The opening action scene when they're raiding the compound to find out where they got the adamantium is good. Ryan Reynolds like doing the sword fight thing that they have homage to in the Deadpool movies a couple times is good. Like there's good action in this. The action in this movie is good.
Yeah, I do kind of wonder if instead of it being Deadpool, if there was a better villain at the end, if it would have sold things better. Like if we did the exact same battle, but it was a different character, because there was no reason for it to be Deadpool. And I think it does nothing but hurt it that it is Deadpool, because it just has people go like, well, I'm watching Deadpool fight Wolverine, but not in the way that I want to be, because this isn't Deadpool. You're just calling him Deadpool, but he's not the character that I want to see.
I think if they had done a version of like a Sentinel,
yeah,
that had all the superpowers and, or like you think that Sabretooth is going to be the big bad and they have this epic fight that they never really got to do. Like they had the fight in the bar, which was cool.
Right. No, I honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, if it was Deadpool, but Deadpool, like if instead of what we got, if we actually saw Wolverine versus Deadpool, again, I don't think we get the movie now, but that would have been I think fans would have enjoyed that if, he thinks he's going to fight Sabretooth and instead Ryan Reynolds comes out and immediately starts talking shit and like just makes fun of him.
In the red outfit and everything.
In the red outfit and starts shooting at him. And they actually fight. Like that could have been really fun. And then that you still like, you can do that in a way that Deadpool doesn't need to be the villain, but like he is a mercenary. So it's not like it would ruin his character to have him still at this point be trying to kill Wolverine.
Oh, so here's the pitch, right? Wolverine and Logan are fighting. And throughout the movie, like Sabretooth has been tying up a lot of the Task Force X loose ends. It's down to the point where the only two that are left are Wolverine and Sabretooth. And then you have Deadpool show up. It's like, hey guys, unfortunately there are two more loose ends. And then he just starts shooting at him.
And then that's what brings them together. Because Wolverine ultimately realizes he doesn't want Sabretooth to be killed. And he obviously is protecting himself. So that's what they team up to beat Deadpool. Yeah.
And then they eventually decapitate him and then you get the same ending.
And then
I don't know how you blow up the 3 Mile Island cooling tower, but you find a way.
I mean, that's what Remy's there for. Like he
just kinetic cards it and it just
it all blows up.
Sure.
Yeah, why not?
I think we did it.
Why we definitely fixed the ending. I think.
Yeah, we did.
Man, Benioff, I bet you wish you had us around for that last season of Game of Thrones, don't you?
If we can fix endings, give us a crack at season 8.
Look, I don't want to give too much away from the pitch that Andy and I have, but needless to say, who ends up on the Iron Throne? A dragon. And not like a Targaryen, an actual dragon just sits on the throne. And it wears a little crown. And here's the thing, everyone's like, oh shit, it's a dragon. Actually really responsible. It's
really good, like really consensus building, and
it brings everyone together.
He just unites all of Westeros under this unified force, and then listens to people.
But then every once in a while, he does eat someone.
Just does occasionally light a city on fire,
but just to like blow off steam.
Yeah.
And then they're all like, "Oh, that dragon!" And then they like forgive him.
Classic Drogon. And then the final shot is just the dragon looking straight at camera going, "Mwah, mwah."
Yeah, and then it's the Looney Tunes.
And then it's Iris in.
Yeah. But then it opens back up and it says, "Ain't I a stinker?" Yeah.
And the dragon has never talked the entire time.
Except this one time to camera.
Silver Linings Playback is a production of HoboTrashCan.com. If you enjoyed the show, please rate or review it on Apple Podcasts. Hear more great shows on the Peak Sloth Podcast Network.